All right, let's go now to Maryland, and we'll talk with Johnny. Hey, Johnny, what do you got for us, my friend?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for taking my call and also what you are doing.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, I have a question with regards to the law
Yeah,
and specifically about the Ten Commandments because I know they have a whole bunch of law, a whole lot, but
yeah,
specifically I want to focus on the Ten Commandments and also we're going to do away one and then deal with the nine. The one we are going to take aside is the Sabbath
Sabbath.
because we know the Sabbath was given to the Israelites.
Hmm.
Okay, the Ten Commandments, the nine, the rest of the nine. My question is, I know we don't obey the law to obtain or to gain salvation.
Hmm.
And you thought about it, and which I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
We gain the law by faith through Christ, not in the law. But my question is, after we have believed in Christ and have received the salvation, do we still have to obey the nine? Don't steal, don't fornicate, respect your man, blah blah blah. Don't bear false witness. As you know, do we have to obey that law, or so we are under grace, so we
Right.
don't worry about it? That's my question.
Okay, yes, great question. I'm glad you asked it. So, summarizing everything that you're asking about, it basically comes down to this. I know that we are not under the law for salvation, but what about the Ten Commandments, or what about the Nine Commandments if you delete the Sabbath? What about the Nine Commandments for a Christian? Now, I'm gonna just go all over the place on this one. I'm gonna work backwards. So first of all, I'll just ask this question: why would I need nine commandments to motivate me when I have nine fruit of the Spirit living in me? Why would I need nine commandments when I have the nine fruit of the Spirit? And when you have the one, Jesus Christ, you have the nine. So this is about focus. It is not about whether lying is okay. Every Christian in their right mind knows that lying is wrong. We can see that in the New Testament. It says, Paul writes, and he says, "Do not lie to one another, since you laid aside the old self." All right, what's your reason? Does it say don't lie to one another because Moses had it in stone? No, it says don't lie to one another because we belong to each other and your old self has been laid aside. Now, what about stealing? Well, is this really about whether stealing is okay? Every Christian I've ever met is pretty clear on stealing, that stealing is a sin and that God's not going to motivate you to steal. How do we know that? Well, Ephesians says, stop stealing, get a job, work with your hands, and give to those in need. So when I look at that, I see the motivation. Does it say stop stealing because thousands of years ago Moses came down the mountain with a law on stone that says don't steal? No, that's not what Paul says. He says stop stealing. You're not made for it. You're dead to sin. You're alive to God. Stop stealing, get a job, work with your hands, and be generous. Why? Because that's who you are. That's your new heart. So I wanted to start with that question. Why would I need 9 laws on stone to motivate me when I have 9 fruit of the Spirit in Jesus Christ? And so, it is smoke and mirrors. It is a distraction when people say, "Oh, so you're a grace guy. I guess you're pro murder. Oh, you're a grace guy. I guess you're pro stealing. Oh, I guess you're okay with lying and cheating." Well, when people make those comments, what it does is it reveals something. It reveals their confidence in Jesus. It reveals their lack of confidence. Because get this, without Moses, They can't imagine how you are going to end up living rightly. Without the law, they can't imagine how you are going to end up bearing fruit. And so the average Christian has been talked into some version of this. Oh, yeah, you're dead to the law for salvation, but you still need the law for daily living. Oh, yeah, Paul said you're not under the law, but he meant, for salvation. But you're still under the law for daily living. Well, first of all, that's made up. That's a lie. That's rewriting the Bible. That's taking a Sharpie and adding your own little phrase to everything that Paul says. Paul never says we died to the law for salvation. He says we died to the law. He never says we're not under the law for salvation. No, he says you're not under the law, you're under grace, and you're led by the Spirit. So this is about what is leading you. And what he's saying is the law is not leading you. So there's no question. It is crystal clear in the New Testament. I don't care if 10 million people disagree. They don't have a shred of evidence. In fact, Galatians says the opposite of what they're claiming. Listen to this. Galatians chapter 3, it says, before faith came, we were held in custody under the law. It says the law was our tutor to lead us to Christ. And get this, it says, now that faith has come, we are no longer under a tutor. So see, the law was our tutor. It led us to Christ. It showed us we had a need for a Savior. But what does Paul say? And I quote, he says, now that faith has come, we are not under a tutor. So our relationship with the law has ended. I don't care what people call it. They can call it dirty names. They can hurl stones. They can hurl insults. But I will not cheat on Jesus. And Jesus is enough for daily living. When you have the one, Jesus Christ, living in you, then you have the 9, the fruit of the Spirit, and it's way better than the law. Now, this isn't my favorite slant or opinion. Let me read 2 Corinthians chapter 3. It says, and I quote, there's a ministry engraved in letters on stone. Now, what is the ministry engraved in letters on stone? Well, of course, it's the 10 Commandments. Now, what does Paul say about it? He says it's a ministry of death. And he says it's a ministry of condemnation. And then he says there's a ministry of the Spirit that is more glorious. There is a ministry that is better, a ministry of the Spirit that brings righteousness. So what does that tell you? Why would I want to be under a ministry on stone if it's a ministry of condemnation and death? Now, I know we're talking about daily living, so I want to make sure that I include Romans 7. Romans 7 is as clear as day on this matter. You remember Romans 7, that's where Paul is saying, I'm doing the very thing that I don't want to do. Who will rescue me? I'm a miserable man. All right, so what is he doing? What is Paul doing? He is struggling with coveting. All right, well, where does it say not to covet? That is one of the 10 Commandments, right? So Paul is talking about the 10 Commandments in Romans 7. In specific, he is talking about thou shalt not covet. Now, what does he say? He says that under the law, sin produced in me coveting of every kind. All right, what law is he talking about? He's talking about the 10. He's talking about thou shalt not covet. He's saying under the coveting law, sin produced in me coveting of every kind imaginable. And you know what the solution he gives is right there in Romans 7? He says, apart from the law, sin is dead. Now, is he talking about getting saved? No, he's talking about coveting. Is he talking about how to be saved? No, he's talking about daily living. Is he talking about how to be justified by faith? No, he's talking about temptation hitting. When he's tempted to covet, here's what he finds. That under the Ten Commandments, coveting of every kind happens. Now, his solution is, apart from the law, sin is dead. Now, what part of the law is he referring to? Well, again, it's the Ten Commandments. So he is saying, apart from the Ten Commandments, sin is dead. The Ten Commandments will make you sin more, not less. Only Jesus provides freedom from the law and godliness at the same time, because it comes from him, his Spirit living in you. It's the ministry of the Spirit, not the ministry of the law. So, Johnny, I want to say one last thing there. In Maryland, I want to share one last thing with you, and that is, look at what people have done. They are saying, I will take Jesus for salvation, but I'll take Moses for daily living. I will take Jesus for his blood sacrifice, but I won't take Jesus for his life-giving Spirit. I will take Jesus to get to heaven, but I'll take Moses for morality and ethics. They're saying, I need the moral law. They're saying, I need the Ten Commandments. They're saying, I need the 9 commandments after they delete the Sabbath. So here's what I would say as a final comment, my friend. I want everybody out there to see if they can right now quote all of the 9 commandments. You know, the moral law. Can you quote all of them? I mean, I mentioned coveting. Okay. I mentioned stealing. Okay, I'm trying to help here. I mentioned murder. All right, we're doing pretty good. That's 3. We got 6 to go. 6 to go. Maybe you thought of a 4th and a 5th. Maybe you even thought of a 6th. Some of you are Bible scholars and you got them all. But let me tell you, 99% of Christians can't even quote the 10 Commandments, much less have them in their mind to live by all day. My point is this. You are expressing godliness not because you memorized the 10 Commandments. You are expressing godliness because Jesus lives in you, and he is motivating you and inspiring you. Most Christians can't even quote the 10 Commandments, much less be motivated by them. You are motivated by God's Spirit and the fruit of the Spirit that he produces. So I want to put you back on, Johnny, and see. Does that help clarify the issue, my friend?
Yes, sir. I'm crystal clear now. Yeah.
Good, good. All right. So I invite you to this wonderful place of trusting Jesus Christ, risen from the dead, Jesus Christ living in you. Is he enough? Will he lead you? Will he guide you? Paul says, and I quote, those who are led by the Spirit are not under the law. Now, what is that about? Is that about salvation? No, sir. Let me say it again. I'll quote it again. Those who are led by the Spirit are not under the law. That is about being led every day, hour by hour, minute by minute, all day long, daily living. What is leading you? Is it 10 commandments on stone? Is it 9 commandments after multiple choice and we delete the Sabbath? Or are you led by the Spirit because you're not under the law? That is the truth of the gospel. People can criticize it, they can name call, they can throw stones at it, they can do whatever they want, but Jesus is enough. Jesus is enough. Thanks for your call. Reach out anytime.